Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast, podcast number 284. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the morning of Saturday, September the 17th, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. I took a little bit of time off the podcast. In fact, I got emails saying, hey, something's wrong here. I can't get your podcasts. Well, the last one I published was September the 1st. This is September 17th, so it's been a little while. I'll explain why, kind of. I know this will shock you, but I have other things going on in my life besides recording podcasts, okay? As most of us do, we try to juggle many balls at the same time. September 1st was a Thursday, I think, and that was the podcast with Joe Shaper. And so I didn't have one that weekend because I had one earlier in the week. The following weekend, last weekend, I had planned on doing a podcast. However, there was just too much stuff going on. There were projects, they were actually springtime projects that I had to do around the house. Okay, well, summer's almost over, so those springtime projects have been kicked down the way long enough. So I had to plan my day on the weather because we had bright and sunny time and we had rainy time. And the best I could do is trust the weatherman. And actually, he was pretty accurate last weekend. So I was able to get everything done that I needed to get done in the yard, in the house, just the upkeep of the physical property here at the James Strong Show house. All right. That was basically what I had to do last weekend. Then at dark 30 on Monday morning, I got up and had my first true international trip since before COVID time. Okay. This was a get up at 2:30 in the morning to catch a plane to Canada. Now you may think, oh, come on, Strong. Canada's not international. They're the same as us. Well, no, they're not. It truly is international. Now, I have been to Tijuana, Mexico, but that is a little different because it's actually just going to San Diego and you walk across the border and then you walk back across the border. Okay. Sure. You go through customs kind of, you really don't go through, you go through a little bit of customs, but it's really no big deal. There's no car driving. It's not hard to get to. Like I said, you walk across the border. Canada, different because you're taking a car across and it's just different, okay? I'll go into that a little bit further and how things have truly changed with international travel, okay? And a lot of things have changed, many of which they just changed because things change as we go about. Other things have changed because of the way companies do business. And I'm not pointing towards the companies so much, but it's almost like the companies do business a certain way because the people that work for them will only do business a certain way. Okay. And this all has to do with how things are changing. Now, I've used this term many, many, many times. We live in interesting times. Well, truth of the matter is, I think we always live in interesting times, okay? But these times, I think, maybe particularly interesting only because of, I feel like I'm the odd man out. In other words, in the past, I've seen where, okay, here's some changes here. I understand why we're doing these changes. These changes may be a little painful at first, but in the long run, they're going to be very beneficial. I'm having trouble seeing that path forward now. And I'm going to put a couple stories out there that will lead up to this whole changing of international travel. I'm not going to say debacle. I'll just say just different, okay? Everything is different. And again, it's because of just the way things are. And it's the same old adage that you need to adapt or die. You either need to adapt or step back. You either need to adapt or bring forth different change. And I'm not sure what the best way to approach this is going to be for a variety of reasons. But before I get into this, I'm going to go ahead and throw a few stories out here that have nothing to do with international travel, but have everything to do with leading up to why things are changing and why things are changing with international travel. Now, dear listeners, I do recommend that you listen to this because many, if not most of you, maybe plan for international travel in the future. Most of you who are planning for international travel in the future, or at least considering international travel in the future, have traveled internationally, so you know how things were. But I'm going to mention to you how things are, because they are quite different. First of all, I'm just going to briefly talk about the death of Queen Elizabeth, and not because I'm going to talk about what a great woman she was or what a horrible colonialist she was, none of that. But it has to do with the next Bond film. And Number Three's son actually brought this up to me, and I thought about it, and I think he's absolutely right. With the transition going from Elizabeth II to Charles III, the name of the next Bond film is going to be On His Majesty's Secret Service. Take that one to the bank. Jordan Peterson. You've heard me talk about him many times. I've read his books. I've seen his lectures. I think he's a very brilliant man. You're best served to listen to much of what he says because it can help you in your everyday life. He's a clinical psychologist. He was a professor at, I think, the University of Toronto. He's since stepped back from that. But he had a problem because his lectures on college campuses were being shouted down by those who disagree, which to me is just bizarre. Traditionally, those leaning left have said, hey, you need to listen to us. Everybody needs to have a voice. And those on the right who tend to run the show saying, no, just shut your mouth and do like you've always done. Well, the tide has turned. Jordan Peterson, who I believe is, I see him as leaning towards the right. He's not far right. Some say he is. Those who think that are just wrong. He does lean right. Many of his ideas are very liberal, not leftist, liberal, big difference. But he used to be shouted down at his lectures. And it was so much so that they wouldn't let him talk, and he had to cancel the lectures. Well, he found a workaround. And the workaround that he found is very, it's genius. And this is what we have to do in life. This is one of the things that Jordan Peterson has done that is just brilliant. It's a workaround where he still gives lectures. They're still well attended at colleges, and nobody shows up to shout down his lectures anymore. You know why? Because he schedules his lectures at 8 o'clock in the morning. None of the people who hate Jordan Peterson and believe they need to stifle his way of thinking because if they don't, the world will go to hell, don't care enough about their cause to get up early. I find that remarkable. He says his attendance is as good as ever because those who want to hear him, they'll get up early to hear a guy. But the world changers, the game changers, the people who need to save the world from those who don't think exactly what they do, they don't care enough to get up early. That, my friends, is a wonderful, wonderful workaround. Another way that things have changed, another way that things are changing, and I think we need to pay attention to it. But then again, when we listen to what those on the far left have to say, they couldn't be any further off base. It has to do with the whole green movement, the global warming, the reduce our carbon footprint thing. Okay. What we've got to remember is, first of all, is global warming a myth? No, global warming is real. Now, is it because we all drive SUVs and use coal-powered furnaces? That's maybe, okay. Global warming is real. The world is getting warmer. It's happened before. It'll happen again. That's kind of the way things go, okay? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If those who are concerned about burning coal, burning fossil fuels, if they would just stop saying, you know what, if we don't do this, we're all going to die because the world's going to be too warm and the oceans will encircle us, okay? If they just say, you know what, let's try to move from fossil fuels to greener energy sources, because it'll make the air that we breathe a whole lot cleaner, okay? That's the way to do it. And every country, or I will say the countries that have had the most progress in getting things greener are the countries, the rich countries. What's the richest country out there? That's right, the United States. What country has reduced their carbon footprint the most? The United States. We have, by far. It's not even close. And the reason I say this is in Europe, they're trying to reduce the amount of fertilizer that we have in the world, or that we make, because fertilizers are made with natural gas. So stop making fertilizers. Okay, well, guess what? If you stop making fertilizers, you can't grow food. If you can't grow food, people will starve to death, which is just a ridiculous way to look at things. Much of the pollution in this country, not so much pollution that's going to hurt the carbon footprint of the world, but the pollution that's in houses are in third world countries, people that are very poor. They don't have furnaces. They cook their food with wood, with dung. Okay, that's their fuel source. Filthy, nasty fuel sources. And it's not so much that they impact the carbon footprint, but they're done in people's houses, and they breathe this air, and they get tuberculosis, and they die of lung cancer because they're breathing this dirty, filthy air. And if you reduce the fertilizer, you also reduce the amount of food there is in the world, which makes it more expensive, which makes poor people even poorer, okay? One of the poorest countries in the world is Uganda, an African country. And the green people are all on everybody, including people in Uganda, to cut back on their carbon footprint. Here, my friends, is an interesting statistic that we need to really pay attention to. The country of Uganda has more people than the state of California. If you look at electricity usage, the country of Uganda uses less electricity than the people in the state of California use to heat their swimming pools. I'm going to repeat that because it's worth repeating. The country of Uganda, which has more people than the state of California, uses less electricity in the whole country than the state of California uses to heat their swimming pools. Think about that for a while. And if those of you in California who are big backers of the green movement can't even turn off your swimming pool heaters, but you're going to wag a finger at people in Uganda, stop it. You want to wag your finger at people? Wag your finger at China, okay, who continue to build more coal-powered furnaces all the time. In the West, we say we're not shutting them down fast enough. In China, they're building them. Scores of them a year, new furnaces. And President Xi has said, look, we're not going to stop building coal-fired furnaces because we need electricity. Sure, we want to help the environment, but not now. In fact, they're not even going to begin to think about reducing their carbon footprint until 2035. At least that's what they've said they would do. Friends, 2035, that's 13 years from now. And guess what? Who's to say in 13 years they're not going to say, yeah, well, we're not going to do that. So they're going to ramp up their carbon footprint for the next 13 years while you and I can't drive automobiles. Think about that. Just think about that. And again, this whole podcast is about international travel, but I had to bring this up because it's leading into the way people are thinking and the way people are doing things. And I mention this because of the unique challenges that we have. And because of these unique challenges, of course, we need unique solutions. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. and I'm not bragging, I'm not complaining, but it's just a fact. I lay awake nights worrying about this crap, worrying about how we're going to fix this. How am I going to do something, not save the world. Okay. I'm not saying that because I'm not going to save the world, and neither are you. I lie awake at night thinking, okay, this world is changing, and it's changing at a breakneck speed. How am I going to immerse myself in it so I can continue to succeed while doing the right thing? Okay. I want to do the right thing, but I also need to make sure that I succeed. And it's just, if you're not careful, it can just totally envelop you in a cocoon of despair. Something happened to me on Friday, my first day home from my international trip. And it was something that on the surface, I should have been thrilled, but I wasn't. And the boss came up to me and says, "Hey, we got you a new phone. Here's your new iPhone 14. Okay. The old one was fine. It was 100% fine, but the boss wanted to get a new one because they have some type of deal where if you trade your old phone in now, you get so much back and it doesn't cost much. And if you wait till later to trade your phone in, you don't get anything back and it costs more in the long run. So I trust the boss. He knows how to do that type of stuff. He's up on that. I'm really not. So here's your new iPhone 14. I get that about 4:00 on Friday afternoon. There was nothing wrong with my other phone, but I should have been thrilled because here's a nice, cool new phone, and it is cool. But friends, it's one more thing for me to learn. It's one more thing for me to do. It's one more task for me to undertake that's not going to help me even a little bit. So I did it. That's just part of the job. That's part of the life, okay? But to me, it's change for the sake of change, not change for getting things better, making things better, I should say, okay? I love change. I love change if it's improving things. I do not like change if it makes things more difficult. I don't even like change if it makes things the same, okay? I mentioned about international travel, and I'm glad I didn't have to do this iPhone swap out before my international travel, because if something shoots craps, now I'm stuck and I don't have a phone. And I have to have a phone nowadays. We all do. If you're going to conduct business, if you're going to live in this world of ours successfully, you have to have a device, okay? And the device makes so many things so much easier to a point. And the most basic part of travel, the two most basic parts of travel, is getting there. In fact, it is the number one. To me, it's the number one most difficult part of my job, the logistics of getting there. And it has not gotten easier. And I'll explain why. You get on a plane, you travel someplace, you land someplace. In fact, this particular time, I had to get up early on Monday morning, St. Louis to Charlotte, Charlotte to Syracuse, New York. And then I drive, the 100 miles or so north to the border. And I rent from Enterprise, St. Louis company. They do a good job for the most part. I like using Enterprise. But they've changed. Since Jack Taylor died or stepped down and then died, the company has changed dramatically. And it's almost like, I know they care. I know some people care, but I really don't know if they truly care about the customer anymore. Let me explain to you what happened. I picked up my rental car, gave him my paperwork. Here's my reservation. Here it is. Let me see your driver's license, your credit card. Yep, this is you. We got all your records. It's the same thing they always say. Okay, well, we've emailed you your receipt, so thank you very much. And I walk off. Now, you used to get a piece of paper that you show the lady at the gate to get by. They don't do that anymore. And I know why they don't do that anymore, because they're trying to save bodies. It's hard to hire people. They don't want to hire people. People cost money. People have to be managed. People are expensive. So reduce the people wherever you can. And to be fair, it's hard to get people. So I understand why they do it. To a point. Well, remember, I'm driving from Syracuse, New York to the Canadian border. It's 100 miles away. So about 20 minutes out, 15, 20 minutes out, I thought, you know what? I haven't looked at my email. Let me make sure I have this receipt, because not always, but often when you cross the border, the Canadian border guards say, okay, welcome to Canada. Prove to me that this is your car. And you got to show them your paperwork. I get that. Okay. I don't have an email. Okay. Well, maybe it's in my spam. Nope. Or my junk mail. Nope. It's not there. Okay. I'll go ahead and call Enterprise and tell them, look, you didn't send me my email and I need this email. So I call them. And first of all, they explain to me how important their call is to me, but not important enough to pick up the phone. And also I've been told to please listen carefully because their options have changed, and they haven't changed in 5 years, by the way. Okay. So they say they care about my call and it's important, and to listen because the options have changed. Okay. They've lied to me twice already, but that's the way things go. After going through the whole menu, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm just going to get another menu unless I hit option 8. Option 8 was, if you've had an accident, press 8. So I press 8. Okay, somebody's going to pick up the phone if I have an accident. And they did. They asked me if I was safe, if I was hurt. No. Okay, actually, lady, here's the deal. I'm not in an accident, but I need to talk to somebody because here's what's going on. Okay, tell me the whole story. So I did. Okay, well, let me see. What's your rental agreement number? Well, okay, again, I don't know what my rental agreement number is because I never got the email. Well, I can't help you unless you have a rental agreement number. Well, I'm calling because I don't have a rental agreement. Okay, let's find out what's going on. So I give them all the other information about me. Finally, she finds it. Okay, you were going to rent a car at Syracuse today. Yes. Did you get that car? Yes, I'm in it now, and I don't have my rental agreement. Oh, well, I can't help you with that. Why didn't you tell me that 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago when we first started this? Okay, what do I need to do? Well, call this 800 number. I said, okay, if you write this 800 number down. Well, I can't write it down because I'm driving. Well, I guess I will write it down because I'm driving and risk death. Okay, so maybe I will be calling you about an accident on the side of the road. But I write it down. I said, look, am I going to get an automated attendant again and go through this whole nut rule? Oh, no, sir. Somebody will pick up the phone. Thank you. Hang up with her, call the number. It's the same number as before. She just did that to get rid of me. That's my belief. Okay, let's hurry up and get this dope off the phone so I can go on and do what I really want to do. I don't want to talk to this knothead. So I go through the whole thing again. Okay. And I get somebody. A lady who seemed to have the attitude that she didn't want to be there. Okay. And of course, I have to tell the whole story again. What's your rental agreement? Okay. Again, I don't have my rental agreement. That's why I'm calling. Remember? Okay. What's your name? What's your this? Okay. She finally finds it. Okay. Click, 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 click. Okay. I think we've taken care of the problem now. I said, good. So you've emailed me my rental agreement. She said, oh, no, I can't do that. What I did is I emailed the Syracuse office and asked them to send you your rental agreement. And I said, that doesn't help me. Remember, the problem was with email. You've emailed them. Yep, that's all I can do. I don't know what else you want me to do. So I thanked her for nothing and hung up. Called Syracuse myself. Okay, let me get right to where I need to get to. I'll call the Syracuse office. I called the Syracuse office. Nobody picks up the phone. You leave a message if you want to. Okay, well, they're not going to pick up this message. So let me go ahead and go through the other options. Okay, the only other option is you get this. Okay, I should get a person for this. But guess what it does? It throws me into the same loop that I was in before. Okay, I go through the whole thing again. I get a guy. He picks up the phone. He asks what's going on. In the meantime, I'm getting closer to the border all the time. So he asks me what's going on. I tell him, okay, can I have your rental agreement, please? Again, I don't have a rental agreement. That's the problem. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Click, 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 click. Nope, I don't see anything. I cannot help you. All I can do is email the Syracuse office. I said, that doesn't help me. Okay, let me get my supervisor on the phone. Thank you. At least he's trying. After a few minutes, the supervisor comes on the phone. How can I help you? Okay, tell the whole story again. What's your rental agreement number, sir? I don't have the rental agreement. That's why we're on the phone, remember? Oh, yeah. Click, 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 click. Nope, sorry, can't do anything. Got to call Syracuse. Okay. So you've emailed Syracuse too. Yep, I've sent them an email. When they get it, they'll send you your agreement. Are they going to read this thing on Wednesday? I'm less than an hour from the border now. I need to have this information. Sorry, can't help you. So I hung up the phone. I'm thinking maybe the stuff is stuck in our spam filter on our server where I work. So I call the boss. He looks. Nope, it's not there. So I tell the boss, I said, look, if I get to the border and they ask me to prove that this car is mine and I can't, I've got to turn the car around and this whole trip is scrapped. By the way, one of the options they offer me is drive the half an hour back to Syracuse and ask them again for a piece of paper. Well, that wasn't an option because then I missed my first call. I don't get to the hotel until 10 o'clock that night. I'm not going to do that. And I told the boss, look, if I don't get a piece of paperwork and they ask for it, I'm scrapping the trip and coming home. And he basically said, okay. 15 minutes before I cross the border, an email comes across. Here's my rental agreement. They just sent it almost about an hour late. They sent it. Okay. And the reason is they said, that's just the way things work. That's just the way things work. So it ended up that they didn't ask for my rental agreement at the border, and they don't always, to be fair, but I got across the border just fine. Okay. A couple of days later, I get an email from Enterprise, and they say, hey, thanks for renting from us. By the way, I hope you'll give us a 10 out of 10 on our customer service. Well, friends, I just laid into them with an email because, again, they're not going to talk to you via email. I told them the whole story via email. The guy sends me an email back. Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry this happened. We'll knock $90 off your car rental. The reason this happened, he said, here, look, this is why this happened. Everything's automated. We really don't send it. There's not a person who clicks a button and sends an email. Our software sees that you've rented from us, recognizes that, and sends an email to the email address we have in our database. So all these people on the phone were really telling me the truth. They couldn't help me because there was no way, there's no vehicle in place for them to help me. Zero. None. And that's basically what this guy was telling me. Hey, sorry, but there's nothing we could do. Oh, and by the way, the next time you rent, the same thing may happen again. Unbelievable. Now, I'm a little smarter. The next time I will insist on a piece of paper, throw it in the glove box, and I'm done. I'm just going to have to do that old school way. And hopefully they'll be able to print it out for me. I hope they can. But that's just one way that things have changed. We're just going to automate everything and make it easier. And when things are automated, it makes things easier for the people who are doing the automation. It makes nothing easier for me. Back in the day, they used to just print out the agreement and give it to me. You throw it in your glove box, you're gone. That would have saved me all the hassle, all the headaches, all the problems, all the anxiety. If they just printed out the paper. But somebody's decided, if we don't print out papers, if we just implement this dopey software package, we can save fill in the blank a year. And it's all about saving fill in the blank a year. So the rental car fiasco on the international trip was just unbelievably full of hassles. Now, the airline part of it, not so much. I flew American Airlines for the first time in quite some time. I flew it on both legs of the trip, to and from. The plane ticket was reasonable. Something like, I think $260, $270 round trip from St. Louis to Syracuse, New York. I thought that was very reasonable. They bumped me up to first class on the way home. The trip from Syracuse to Chicago, because it was St. Louis to Charlotte, Charlotte to Syracuse on the way there. On the way back was Syracuse, Chicago, Chicago, St. Louis. So I got bumped up to first class, which was fine. I mean, first class nowadays is no big deal. It's a bit more leg room, which is fine, which is actually more than fine. They give you a cup of coffee before the plane takes off, and you get a couple snacks. But it was fine. It was good. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. The plane was clean. Everything was on time, which is absolutely the most important. So kudos to American Airlines for making that part of my trip very enjoyable. And I mentioned this is an international trip. It was Canada. And Canada is an international trip. It's not the United States. A lot of it is like the United States. A lot of it is not. They have their own rules. They have their own government. They have their own language. In Quebec, they speak French. But they're arguably our best neighbors. Some could say Mexico. Some could say England. Some could say other countries. But arguably, they are our best neighbor. Most like us, biggest trading partner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was talking to a guy, and I mentioned I went to Canada. Canada, damn communists. They're not communists in Canada. Many of their policies are more socialist than ours, but not really. Their taxes are higher, but they provide more services. But this is what the people have voted for. That's what the people want. People get the government that they choose. We have, they did too. And I only mention that because I don't know why someone would just make a statement, a hateful statement like Canada's full of communists. It's a communist country. It's just an uneducated, mudslinging remark that's hateful. And it has to stop. I mean, why would we damn our best neighbor? I don't get it. And this is not a dumb guy who made the statement, but it just caused me to scratch my head. It's a different country, different policies, different everything. In fact, I will tell you how things are different in Canada. And it goes back to over 200 years ago. In this country, we have patriot this, patriot that. And the term patriot goes back to the Revolutionary War, where the patriots fought against the crown and won our independence, okay? In Canada, you don't see that term used so much, but a term you see used a lot is the term loyalists, okay? It's kind of the same thing. They have loyalist organizations, Loyalist Bridge, the Loyalist this. And the term loyalists, most of the loyalists that live in Canada are Americans that immigrated to Canada during and after the Revolutionary War. The loyalists were the people in the U.S. who were for the king. And you see some of these movies, the Hollywood depiction of the Revolutionary War, and you're thinking, okay, everybody in the U.S. wanted to be their own separate country. They didn't want to be part of England. They did not want to give allegiance to the crown anymore. Friends, that was not the case at all. Many did. In fact, most did, but many did not. Many were very happy with having loyalty to the king. They wanted to be part of England. They were very happy with the way things were. Not most, but many did. When the war turned and England lost, the loyalists had to get out of Dodge because they were on the wrong side of history. So they sold their stuff and they moved to Canada. And many of the big money people in Canada are people who moved from the U.S. to Canada years ago in the 1700s. They have a lot of the big houses down on the Thousand Islands. The Thousand Islands is an area actually just north of Watertown, just south of Brockville, Ontario. And it's a part of the St. Lawrence River that's full of these islands and full of these houses that are just magnificent and beautiful. It's unbelievably beautiful how these houses in the Thousand Islands are. Now, to be fair, they're beautiful about 5 months a year. And about the other 7 months a year, it's just cold, okay? But many of these houses are owned by the loyalists, okay? And loyalist is a term kind of like patriots, okay? These were the people who moved from the U.S. to Canada because Canada was aligned with the crown. In fact, the War of 1812, we call it the War of 1812. They call it the War of American Aggression. They see that as, because Canada was part of the crown in 1812, and Canada actually fought a war with England against the United States. And it was many of the loyalists who were still around who took up arms against the United States back then. So it's a different country. They see things differently, okay? Their gasoline prices. First of all, you don't buy gasoline in gallons. You buy it in liters, as you do everywhere in the world except for the United States. Gasoline, you do the math because it's liters, not gallons, about 3.75 liters to the gallon. Canadian dollar is worth 0.8 of a U.S. dollar, so it's about $5.15 a gallon for gasoline. By me right now, it's $3.13. Okay, so a lot cheaper, $2 a gallon cheaper here in the U.S. than in Canada. About the same cost as in California, actually, which is another story for another day. But again, they have higher gas taxes. But they have better roads, okay? So it's a country that's frozen about 3 months out of the year, but they have better roads than you and I. So maybe those gas taxes are put to good use. Another thing about Canada that I really enjoy is Canadian radio. Canadian talk radio is very good. It's not right wing. It's not left wing. It's kind of reporting, and some of the stuff it leans left, if anything. But for the most part, they're fair, and they'll listen to both sides of the story, and they don't name call. Okay, and it's interesting. The two main Canadian stations I listen to while I'm up there are both out of Montreal, which is in Quebec. So it's funny that it's funny that the two best stations I like to listen to are from a city in a province whose primary language is not even English. And that's CJAD out of Canada, 800 AM out of Montreal. CJAD is named after Joseph Arthur DuPont. JAD, that's C is for Canada, JAD is for Joseph Arthur DuPont. He was a iconic broadcaster who founded that station, okay? Another station, I'm going to mention this to you in detail because if you listen to Pandora, if you listen to iHeartRadio, if you listen to any of the streaming services, and if you like classic rock, more classic pop radio, consider this station because for whatever reason, they don't play commercials and it's free. It's a CFQR, 600 AM out of Montreal. If you go to cfqr.com, click on it, and you stream some good oldies radio with no commercial interruptions. So it's like paying for a Pandora premium service, but not writing the check. Again, cfqr.com. Good radio station. Check it out. And CJAD, again, it's not Fox, where Fox to me has become unlistenable because it's so right-leaning. Now, just the regular Fox broadcast with, I think Brent Baer is the guy who does the news. It's fine. But the talk show hosts, I can't listen to them. It's the same old stuff. It's the same old Trump stuff. And I don't want to listen to it anymore. It's not PBS where they have All Things Considered, which is really All Things Leftist Considered. It's state-run radio that they think the state needs to put a hammer and sickle next to the stars and stripes. So it's not either one of those extremes, and that's why I like it. And some of the things they discussed were some of the local politics, which I could care less about. But they had a nice story on that I love to listen to, and it was actually about Toronto and the Michelin star restaurants that are popping up after the pandemic in Toronto. Now you think to yourself, well, why would you want to listen to something like that? You know what? I love listening to things about other countries, other cultures. And I'd love to have more Michelin star restaurants here in the States here by me, because if you ever have eaten at one, and I have, friends, they're unbelievably good. I mentioned on the way home, Chicago O'Hare Airport. I flew through there. And it's been a while since I've flown through O'Hare. I almost never fly into O'Hare, only when I transfer. And that's only when I transfer flying on American, because Southwest transfers through the other airport. What is it called? Not O'Hare. What's the other airport? The name escapes me. It'll come to me later on. But O'Hare is the airport to transfer when you fly on American Airlines. It's the big airport there, okay? Wolfgang Puck's, my favorite place to eat there, closed. I guess they closed up during the pandemic, and they've since reopened to some whiskey bar or something like that. But I ate at the Macaroni Grill, and it's right in between the little mall. If you know O'Hare Airport, when you're going down the main mall and the main area, you go down a certain way, then you turn to the right, it's the K gates, you turn to the left, it's the H gates, and maybe that's the other way around, I forget. But there's a Macaroni Grill there that serves a good breakfast. So I sat down, got a seat right on the aisle so I could people watch, and I ordered, bacon, eggs, potatoes, toast, coffee. Right as the meal came, security alarms went off. Screaming alarms with flashing lights in the restaurant. And it was ear-piercing. In fact, so much so that I thought, this is going to go away soon. So the waitress came and said, "What's going on here?" She said, somebody was smoking in the bathroom. And when someone smokes in the bathroom, it sets off an alarm, and that sets off the alarm in our restaurant too. Okay. Thanks for the explanation, but... And she was, it's not her fault. She gave me the right answer. But this alarm kept going and kept going and kept going. Finally, 7 cops show up about 10 minutes into this alarm. And I'm thinking, okay, fine. I guess the cops had to shut the alarm off. Well, they all walked around. A couple of them had clipboards. They walked around. They talked to each other. They scratched their crotches. They made jokes. They walked around, and then they left. And the alarm kept going. I had no idea how long this alarm was going to be going. It was busting my eardrums. So luckily I had ear plugs that I use when I go into the shops, and I put earplugs in. That alarm, folks, went on for 20 minutes before somebody turned it off. Why is that? I understand you can't smoke in the bathroom. It's against the law. You can't smoke in the airport. It's against the law. And the alarm went off, I'm sure, to alert somebody. But alert them of what? The police didn't come for 10 minutes. You think that guy was still in the bathroom smoking his cigarette? I don't think so. He was long gone. And why didn't they just turn it off? Atlanta Airport is the worst for alarms. In fact, every time I'm in the Atlanta airport, the same thing happens. Ear-piercing alarms go off, strobe lights flash, and an automated voice comes on. "We have had a major security breach in the airport. Please leave the area." And it goes on and on and on, usually for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then they turn it off. Now, here's the surprising thing. Loud sirens, flashing lights, and an automated attendant saying, "We have had a security breach in the area. Please leave the area immediately." No police, no security, and nobody does anything but cover their ears and walk. That alarm, like the alarm in O'Hare, friends, nobody threw the switch. It was something that was just automated. Again, like the Enterprise email, it was just automated. If this happens, an alarm goes off. The police don't come. No security cares. Nobody cares. Is it truly security if it's automated and then the police don't come and then they don't turn it off for 20 minutes? That's not security. That's just somebody bought a software package from somebody's buddy, okay? And that's why things have changed so much. That's the major change in international travel, okay? Is that once upon a time, you talked to a person, you did this, you did that, and everything was fine. Now you have all this automated stuff. And friends, I'm here to tell you, it does not make it easier for the traveler. The Enterprise deal caused me a lot of anxiety, a lot of fretting, a lot of worry, and it ruined my breakfast in O'Hare Airport. having that screaming alarm in my ear for 20 minutes. Let's automate everything and make it better. But make it better for who? Not the traveler. So it's definitely beware of all that automated baloney when you travel. By the way, if you're traveling to Canada, you have a system called Arrive Canada, which is to check for COVID. I will tell you that it worked very well, but when you're filling this stuff out, it's kind of iffy. And after you fill all this stuff out, on the way to the border, you get an email saying, hey, thanks for filling out Arrive Canada. But please understand, even if you did everything perfectly right, we may still not let you come across the border for a variety of reasons. I have no idea why they would send me an email like that. Just to mess with me? I don't know. But the automation has made things more difficult. Now, to end on a positive note, first of all, business was very good. I will tell you, if you are a business person and you're looking to do business, if you can supply a product or service to a person in a timely manner, they will jump on it. They don't mind paying more. They just want to get it. Lots of my customers said, look, I want to buy stuff from you because you guys get stuff out to me. Nobody else cares. They lead times are months, if not years, if ever, with no customer service, no anything. So if you have a product or service that you can provide in a timely manner, people will buy it. That's a good thing. And business is very good for us right now. But I will also say, the last thing that made me smile right before I crossed the border, as I went to the duty-free shop in the Thousand Islands, right before you cross back into the good old US of A, and I bought 2 bottles of Campari. Campari is a aperitif bitter made in Italy that I use for my Negronis. Campari is a very wonderful drink. You've got to have it for Negronis. You've got to have it for Americanos. You've got to have it for several other drinks. And it's about $32 for a 750. At the duty free, 2 for $28. That's right. 2 750s of Campari for $28. That, my friends, might have been the thing about the trip that made me smile the most. Well, that's it. We're done. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope I was able to give you some pointers on international travel. You can send me emails on international travel as well. If you're thinking about traveling, even locally, nationally, internationally, I've done it now. I've got a better handle on it now. Things have changed. I'll be glad to discuss that with you via email, or send me an email and give me your email address, and I will send you a copy of the podcast, a link of the podcast as soon as it's published, so you can download it and listen to it at your leisure. Please share the podcast with others. Continue to share the love. I appreciate it. That's it. We're done. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.